What's going on, everybody? I was already in the middle of recording this video, and then I guess I ran out of data, and it stopped the video, and then corrupted the file, so I had to do this again. So this will be quick, but to kind of piggyback off of yesterday's video about Toriyama. A lot of people have been wondering, what happens to Dragon Ball? Where are we going? What is happening? Right? And those are perfectly legitimate questions to be asking. I will say that I don't think, because there's a couple options, right? I don't think that Toyotaro is taking over. Is it possible? Yes. But let me straighten something out for a lot of viewers who are very misinformed and confused. Toyotaro was never hired to be Toriyama's replacement. Never. It's never said. There's no interview you can find. There's no press release that announced this ever being a thing. Toyotaro was never meant to take Toriyama's place one day. That was never the case. History lesson. Dragon Ball Super, the anime, is what the team that Toriyama was working with and was going to work with to create Dragon Ball Super. Again, Toriyama was old. He didn't feel like drawing anymore. He didn't want to draw a manga, then submit that to the anime team, then have them create the anime, right? He didn't want to do all of that again. He hated doing that. He was under so many time constraints back then, right? So what he did was he had this story and he gave it bullet points to Toei for the anime, right? Then they were like, hey, this would be a great idea if we did have a manga running side by side with the anime, right? So they needed somebody to draw the manga. But don't forget, the manga's only purpose, the only reason the manga was made, was to promote the anime. And that is said in an official press release. If you go back to when the manga is announced, it is stated in any article you look at that it was made to promote the upcoming episodes that are soon to come in the anime. The manga's sole purpose in Dragon Ball Super, let me make myself very clear. If we're talking about Toriyama's Dragon Ball, this is the Bible. This is Dragon Ball from beginning to end. This is the source material, is this. This is not. And for some reason, this is very hard for people to wrap their heads around. People think, manga? It's the source material. If we were talking about this, if we were talking about One Punch Man, if we were talking about Full Metal Alchemist, name me your favorite anime. If we were talking about High School of the Dead, if we were talking about Chobits, you are right. You. Yes, you, fan, who's mad that you might be wrong here. You are right. If we were talking about any other anime in the world, you're correct. Even Dragon Ball itself, you're correct. Dragon Ball Super, you're incorrect. Toriyama, again, was here, right? Anime, manga, right? Toriyama was the centerfold of both, right? But it's not like, oh, they're maybe, I think now they're running concurrently, right? They're like, because even Akio Iyoku came out and was like, oh, isn't that cool? We have two separate Dragon Ball stories happening at the same time. But everybody is saying they're separate. Why do you guys think that Moro and Granola have never been adapted? They might get adapted now because of Toriyama's passing and they have no content to make, right? But why do you think they've never been adapted? Do you really think Toei just... You think the CEOs at Toei wake up, oh man, I really hate making money. Woo! Woo! Man, yeah, let me get some breakfast. Man, I ain't got nothing in my wallet, but that's good. Yeah, we don't need any more Dragon Ball. Man, who hates making money as much as we do? Do you guys really believe that? Or we can actually look at what people are saying, like Akio Iyoku, who say, man, isn't it great? Again, the Japanese are very respectful. Very respectful in every word that they say. Here in America, we're not afraid to say, oh, that's not my work. It's good, but it's not mine. It's not part of the story. In Japan, they will never say that. They have way too much respect. So what do they say instead? It's so wonderful that we live in a time where we can have two stories about Dragon Ball going on at the same time. Isn't that wonderful? It's a big PR statement. It's a big, they're trying to be respectful type thing. Right? So is it possible that Toyotaro could take over after Toriyama now? It is possible, but I don't think that that's the case. I don't think that that's what's going to happen, because again, that was never the case. I've seen so much, especially on Twitter. Everyone's like, Toyotaro is being groomed for this. This is what he was here to do. We have to respect him. We have to let him take over. That was, what are you guys, where are you guys getting this? This was never a thing. That was never gonna happen. Again, it's now that Toriyama's dead, it might, but then again, Toriyama's dead. Nobody expected this. Nobody knew this was coming. So, like, sure, now maybe they're like, all right, Toyotaro, you're up. Maybe, but I want to make it very clear. That was never the intention, ever, from anybody. And before someone's like, well, you can't prove that it wasn't, well, you can't prove that it was, is what I'm going to say. And I think you can't prove that it was holds a lot more precedence than you can't prove that it wasn't. Because you could say that about anything. The other option aside from Toyotaro is Akio Iyoku. Akio Iyoku just separated from Shueisha to create his own company, Capsule Corporation Tokyo, right? And he was going to be in charge of the anime, he was going to be in charge of video games, and he was going to be in charge of mainly creating content for the anime and the video games. So, and that happened shortly, sometime last year, or maybe end of 2022, and some people have actually hypothesized that the reason why Akio Iyoku did that was because apparently they knew Toriyama was sick last year. Apparently they knew he was sick all of last year. So, Akio Iyoku could have potentially thought, uh-oh, what if Toriyama kicks the bucket? Let me leave now. Let me get my company started now. Let me prepare. If that happens, we'll be ready. I don't know if that's the case, but let me say something. Between the options we have, Toyotaro, Kentaro Miura, a lot of other options we have, I think that Akio Iyoku's probably our best. I think Akio Iyoku is probably our best. I trust him the most. I can't think of anybody else in either Toei, Shueisha, Bird Studio. I can't think of anybody I trust with Toriyama's work more than him. And here's the thing also, is Toriyama's never really been the type. I've seen a lot of comments also too. Like, oh, I bet you Toriyama left how the story was going to end just like Oda did. I'm sure he left that around for somebody. Two things. One, Dragon Ball is not One Piece. One Piece never, at any point of its run, did it ever end. Has One Piece ever ended? Did Oda ever say, all right, everybody, that's it. One Piece is done. It's over. No. It has been continuing to go since the 90s. Nonstop. Dragon Ball ended 30 years ago, guys. It ended. It was over 30 years ago. Toriyama said, this is it, guys. This is the end. Bye. Then Dragon Ball Evolution came out 2008, and he hated it so much he didn't want that to be the final thing people remember about for Dragon Ball. So he created Battle of Gods in 2013. Then that became a success. So he was like, okay, I'll write Resurrection F2, and then that turned into Super and etc. But he was not passionate about writing Dragon Ball until Daima. And even then, guys, don't forget, when Toriyama was writing Battle of Gods, he didn't have Resurrection F planned. When Toriyama was writing Resurrection F, he didn't have the Universe 6 arc planned. This is what's crazy. You guys have to understand how Toriyama wrote. Go back and read any interview with any of Toriyama's editors at the time when he was writing Dragon Ball, like writing Dragon Ball. Your favorite series, my favorite series. He wrote a majority of Dragon Ball on the seat of his pants. I don't know if it was this literal, but kind of to put it in like a perspective comparison for you, Toriyama was probably sitting there being like, "Oh man, it's Thursday. I gotta get a manga chapter into Shonen by Saturday. Ah, crap. What am I gonna do? Sell. Cool. Like he like was so spur of the moment. So for those out there who are like, I bet you Toriyama left notes. I bet you he didn't. I'm willing to bet my life on it. Well, let me not say my life on it. I'm willing to bet a lot that Toriyama did not have anything planned. Because Toriyama's never really been that way. He's never really been one to be like, Dragon Ball is going to end like this. Not like Oda. Here's how Oda imagined the end of the story. At the beginning. He knew, ever since the beginning, Oda knew how One Piece was going to end. Dragon Ball has never been written that way. For every chapter, it was an adventure and was for Toriyama. Toriyama oftentimes very much just kind of came up with stuff on the spot and wrote it. That's very much that was very much his writing style as a writer. He was a very spur of the moment writer. So no, I don't think he had anything planned. Is it possible he wrote something down? I guess. Is it possible Akio Iyoku and Toriyama discussed potential avenues for the franchise, and that Toriyama let Akio Iyoku in on what he potentially could have wanted for a possible end of Z? Yes, it's very possible. Is it possible he told Toyotaro? I find that less likely, because again, according to Toyotaro, again, here's another hole in the he was groomed for. Toriyama and Toyotaro barely spoke to each other, right? Does anybody in here know that? Toriyama and Toyotaro barely spoke to one another. The only times Toyotaro heard back from Toriyama was when either A, they were in an interview together, or B, when Toyotaro's drawing the manga and he sends his work to Toriyama for approval. And yet I see all these people on Twitter who think that like they were on the phone chatting it up every day. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. I don't know what some people think about Toyotaro, but let me tell you something. Whatever you guys think the relationship dynamic is or was between Toyotaro and Toriyama, it's not that. It ain't that deep, I promise you. I promise you it ain't that deep. I have also seen a lot of people say that Daima is not finished. I've seen a lot of people are like, oh man, Toriyama died before they finished Daima. He's not going to be able to finish putting his input. What are you talking about? Is Daima out yet? No. Daima's been pretty much like, at least as far as his contributions are concerned, done for a while. Because, guys, go out right now and create an anime. Is it going to be out tomorrow? No? Okay. But next week it'll be out, right? No? Oh, okay. Well, what about next month? Next month you'll have that 15 episode, $2 million budget per episode anime out, right? You'll have it out for me next month, right? No? See how this stuff takes time? This stuff takes time. and it's steps, right? Toriyama wrote the script, or he wrote the story, right? And then guess what happens? Guess what happens after that? The literal next step. They create the storyboard. Do you guys know what the storyboard is? The storyboard is the story. The storyboard of an anime, of a cartoon, of a movie, of anything. The storyboard is how it's going to look in the show. Almost 100%. Sure, there's some changes that might be made last minute for whatever the case is. But the storyboard is how it's going to look in the anime. And that storyboard, if they've animated anything on Dragon Ball Daima, then oh yeah, that storyboard has been done for a while. So the only thing that's left to be done on Daima, if I had to guess, is voice work, is potentially more animators, animating the anime, right? Potentially more, animation work that needs to be done. But as far as, oh darn, they're going to have to make the last few episodes of Daima without Toriyama. I don't know what you guys are talking about, because Toriyama's literally mapped out how Dragon Ball Daima is going to go via not just his own story, but via the storyboards that he had drawn. He had somebody draw at Toei and present to him for his approval. Which then, those storyboards, guess what? What's the next step? Then get sent... Well, actually, the storyboards actually at that point would get sent to the voice cast, right? I believe so. If it works anything like Prelay here in America, the storyboards would and the scripts would at that point be sent to the voice cast, then the voice recordings are done, then the anime is done. And the anime is done around that. But either way, Toriyama's contributions to Daima is done. So I don't know where people are going with like, darn, he didn't... I don't know what you're talking about. His contributions are done for Daima. When Daima comes out, that will still be 100% Toriyama. I don't know what a lot of people are inquiring about there. What else? Like I said, I think Akio Iyoku is probably the prime suspect for where the future of Dragon Ball is heading. If I had to say... Right. But anyways, guys, I think that's it. I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here. What do you guys think? This is such a very difficult and very messy situation. It really is. It's difficult. It's messy. This is something I really don't... we shouldn't even be talking about this right now. This is something that really shouldn't even be discussed until at least a couple of weeks later. But it's been on my mind. A lot of people have been asking, so I wanted to make this video to kind of hopefully clear a lot of things up. Yeah, I love Dragon Ball, man. I love it. And to imagine Dragon Ball without Toriyama is scary. It's scary because I'm not a fan of Toyotaro in the manga. I'm not a fan of the way he writes. I'm not a fan of his arcs. I don't like the Moro arc is very popular and that's cool. Don't like Moro. I think his original design was fantastic and then he got his ultimate form and it just fell off. I think Granola is one of the worst arcs in Dragon Ball, bar none. Like, hands down. I think it's one of the worst arcs in Dragon Ball, bar none. But anyways, you guys, that's it. I'm going to end the video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please make sure to leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think about the future of Dragon Ball. Do you guys think that they're just going to end it? Do you guys think Akio Iyoku will take over? Do you guys think that Toyotaro will take over, despite what I say, right? And who knows? Toyotaro might surprise me if he did take over. Who knows? But anyways, you guys, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, I will see everybody in the next video. Bye. Thanks so much to Schwarzenegger Bager 8110, Kame Senin, Loser HD, and the newest member to our Cartoon Fanatic tier, Susan Simone. If you would also like to become a member, on my channel there is listed multiple different tier levels, and you can pick out which one is best for you.